Welcome back to the channel. We're back to work on a 68 Chevy truck. We're going to start putting in the new wiring harness today. Got all the old harness taken out. If you'll watch the first video, part 1, that's what we did in it. We removed all the old wiring. Got a good clean slate now to work with on the new wiring harness. So we're going to get started on that today. The new harness is a complete harness inside the cab, the engine compartment, the headlights, taillights, everything's in that new harness. We are using an auto wire harness, so good brand. Wires are marked really well. You know what wire goes to what connection. So let's get started on it and see how far along we get. Behind this panel right here, there was a big wad of wires running all the way across the radiator support. We removed all of them. The old voltage regulator was part of what was behind this panel right here. So we got all that out of there. We put the panel back, got it fastened down. So that take care of that. Now I'm going to try to determine how I can run the new wiring harness. We might be able to come over here on one of these grommets. So that's kind of the next step. Well, here's our progress so far. New fuse panel, just got one screw in it just to hold it temporarily. And all these wires you see here, they do go in the cab. And on the firewall, we put in those two grommets back there. And these wires here, they go to the headlights, parking lights in the front. And these, they go to the rear lights and the fuel gauge. And then these wires in this other grommet here, they go to the engine compartment for the coil and the ignition, water temperature, oil pressure, etc. I've got them at least where they belong. It's time for a coffee break, so I'm going to do that and I'll be back at it later on. Have the headlight and front parking light wiring coming out right here. And you can see I put it in a grommet. Then this wire running down right here, that's going to the rear lights and the gas gauge. So got it fed down by the frame. I'll run it when I get the truck back up on the lift. Wiring update. Got most of the engine compartment wired. Starts fine, so everything's working okay. I'm trying to run most of the wiring in the inner fender well. Then we'll put some wire loom on that when we get everything run. What we like is a solenoid wire. That's the purple wire. And we have to extend it to where to run all the way across through this loom here and down to the solenoid. This is a solenoid wire here, so we'll have to hook that up. Got to put a terminal on the 12 volts to the battery that powers the fuse box. Headlight wiring's right there in the floor. This is a electric fan and a horn wire hanging over the side here. He does have a new radiator and fan ordered, so we'll be using that electric fan wire. Doesn't have a horn on it now, but he wants to put one on it, so we'll be using that too. And here in the back, we've got our taillight wires, just 3 wires, right and left signal in the parking light. Pretty simple hookup there. The cab's nowhere near completed. As you can see, we haven't put the instrument cluster back in or any of that. That's what one bundle of those wires that's wrapped around the brake pedal go. And those others are just radio wires, heater wires, wiper switch plug, steering column plug, dimmer switch plug. We got the solenoid wire ran all the way over to the solenoid on the starter. So that's done. This loom we'll leave hanging until we get the headlight wires in. We do have to run a couple of wires from side to side on the headlights, and we'll put all of that in one loom then and fasten it down. But truck runs good. That's the main thing. Starts up good with the fuel injection carburetor on it. We'll get started back on it tomorrow morning. Well, good morning. Back to working on the truck today. I've got quite a few things finished. And the headlights, parking lights all wired up. Just looking at the dash wiring and how it hooks up. Here's a diagram. Looks like all the wires are marked. We got ground, dash lights, 12-volt ignition, left dash indicator, which is turn signal, right turn signal indicator, temperature sensor, oil pressure, high beam indicator, gas gauge, and the coil wire, coil tack. Looks like it's not too complicated. This is a headlight switch here, and this is a wiper switch, I think. Yeah, that's a wiper switch. Here's the back side of the instrument cluster. I've separated them and marked them. I'll run a home run cable on the wiring harness itself to the correct terminals wherever they go. But that way I know where each gauge is and the wire that goes to it right now. Did get the dash wired, all but the wiper switch, which goes here. All the other gauges are hooked up. There's the back side. Tried to make it look as neat as we could. And here's all the harness coming in. Got it cable tied. Got the ignition switch in. Right there. Headlights are all working. Starts up. We have oil pressure on the gauge. And the water temperature. I didn't leave the truck running long enough to check it, but I'm sure it's okay. Was hooking up the heater motor, the wiring. There's the switch right there. And here's what I found. This piece here is riveted, was at the factory. Riveted to the front piece. You can see some of the rivets still left there. But that's how it was at the factory, and they've all broken loose. And I'm going to drill a hole like you see right there. I'm going to put 4 rivets to hold that through the front. I'm going to use aluminum rivets so they won't really look that bad, but that'll do, and the fellow may want to buy a new piece for this, but that'll get it by for right now. So just something else I ran into doing wiring. Now I'm doing a mechanical repair. Here's a repaired heater defrost bezel, switch assembly, whatever you want to call it. Just put rivets through the front. Someone had tried to repair it before. That's what the scratches are for there on the right. So also lubed the switch, which operates with this center lever. If you can see it moving down there. That's the fan switch. So we're ready to put this back in. Hook the 12 volts up to the heater motor, and we'll see what happens. We're able to use the original harness here on the windshield wiper switch, and you can see there's the wires that plug right back into the wiper motor. And in here the wiper motor, and all we had to do was run the new 12-volt wiper feed from the harness, and we hooked it up right here on the yellow wire. It worked out well. We were able to use the original wiring plugs from the switch over to the motor. Well, pretty much finished inside other than the steering column, and can't wire the steering column yet because he's going to put a new one in. Well, I got the wiper hooked up. Heater motor is working. That's all for part 2. Be sure to check back for the 3rd and final part as we finish up the truck. Thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.